And for the last day of Putin on Blast Week, how will it all end? A lot of things come up, and none of it good, actually. From Reuters, Russia's Putin revokes Geneva Convention Protocol on War Crimes. Russian President Vladimir Putin has revoked Additional Protocol 1 to the 1949 Geneva Convention. Protocol 1 is a 1977 amendment protocol to the Geneva Conventions relating to the protections of victims of armed conflict in which people are fighting against colonial domination, alien occupation, or racist regimes in the exercise of their right of self-determination and are to be considered international conflicts. What all this means is, well, I can read some of it off for you. Article 47.1 is important to this conflict. A mercenary shall not have the right to be a combatant or a prisoner of war. That kind of puts the Wagner group in the position of all being war criminals. Articles 51 and 54 outlaw indiscriminate attacks on civilian populations, destruction of food, water, and other materials needed for survival. Indiscriminate attacks include directly attacking civilian, non-military targets, but also using technology such as biological weapons, nuclear weapons, and landmines. A total war that does not distinguish between civilian and military targets is considered a war crime, which is where Putin is right now. Articles 56 and 53 outlaw attacks on dams, dikes, nuclear electrical generating stations, and places of worship. The first three are works and installations containing dangerous forces and may be attacked only in ways that do not threaten the release of dangerous forces. In other words, it's permissible to capture them but not to destroy them. Articles 76, 77, 15, and 79 provide special protections for women, children, and civilian medical personnel and provide measures of protections for journalists. In other words, all the rape they've been doing is, well, against the law, but that goes without saying. The Hill had an op-ed piece which said that Russia must be evicted from the UN. It actually laid out in pretty clear systems how it would work. One of the first things that has to be noted here, 50 years ago, UN founding nation and Security Council permanent member was expelled. The Republic of China, Taiwan, had occupied the seat from 1945 to October 25th, 71, when its place was taken by the PRC. The Assembly even lifted a supermajority requirement when adopting Resolution 2758, 76 votes to 35 with 17 abstentions. How it would go down this time? Well, October 12, UN resolution condemning Russia's illegal annexation of East Ukraine was adopted 143 to 5 with 35 abstentions. The majority suggests that Russia is now thoroughly isolated. While they need to be removed and deserve to be removed from the Security Council, its position is enshrined in Article 23, Section 1 of the UN Charter. Its veto power cannot be revoked because of provisions of Article 27, Section 3. There is also no consensus on changing the existing UN structure. One way to get them off the Security Council and removing their veto power is to expel from the Russian Federation, which can be done under Article 18, Section 2. And since it would be out of the UN, it wouldn't be on the Security Council. Russia's flagrantly violated Article 2, Sections 3, 4, and 7 of the UN Charter and refuses to comply with the General Assembly's resolution. It has committed a crime of aggression against a sovereign state and numerous crimes against humanity in the occupied parts of Ukraine, and with the cruise missile attacks on their electrical infrastructure, attacks on civilians as well. Should the behaviors change, probably the only way that's going to change is if they overthrow or knock off Putin. They can be readmitted to the UN. First thing that has to happen to accomplish this is a resolution for Russia's expulsion/suspension needs to go to the General Assembly from the Security Council per Article 12, Section 1. Second, the General Assembly must vote by 2/3 plus 1 supermajority in favor of the expulsion. Now, you say, well, Russia has veto power. Not necessarily. Article 27, number 3 of the Charter states that if the Security Council is deliberating an issue concerning one of its members, a party to the dispute shall abstain from voting under paragraph 3 of Article 52. This would allow the Security Council to send the whole thing to General Assembly without Russia simply being able to veto it. China's the only one that might veto it, but even they're beginning to have qualms about how Russia is currently conducting a war by strikes against civilian infrastructure. May have to make a deal to get China to abstain in Security Council. If they do, they may go right ahead because they've been, well, they want Russian oil. They've not been real hot up on the steps Putin's been taking in the last couple of weeks. Maybe offer a deal to them, their abstention in the Security Council. It'd be the first test of President Xi's proposal of a U.S.-China condominium in managing world affairs, which seems to be what Z wants, and I don't think it'd be a great deal. Probably got to take it. I mean, what's going on in Ukraine it's got to be stopped. By throwing Russia out, with China's help, would make the Security Council an effective body, able to make much-needed decisions aimed at preserving global stability. Some have argued, and the Hill does, that if this doesn't happen, the UN is going to go the same way as the League of Nations, doing all it managed to do was expel the Soviet Union when it attacked Finland instead of military intervention. Russia no longer has the ability to stop anything at the UN. Technically, they could put up a use of force resolution right now, because Russia is a party to the problem. If Article 52, paragraph 3 is enforced, they could put up a use of force resolution right now, and Russia would not be able to stop it because they would be a party to the dispute. They would be forced to abstain. Whether that happens or not, it may be just easier to kick them out. I don't think that may have to happen to end this war. I don't think it's a long-term solution, but maybe a short-term fix. But I honestly feel it needs to be done one way or another, whether Russia is forced to not vote on a use of force resolution by the charter, or if they have to be thrown out to make it happen. It's got to happen. One way or another, it's got to happen. I'm not ever hot up for sending soldiers into battle needlessly. I was an infantryman. You know you're going to be on the front lines. You pray like hell that the diplomats can get their job done. But right now, that's not happening, and something's got to be done. The one thing the Russian forces haven't been using and has been commented on is the sun goes down, the sky goes dark, and they stop. They don't fight, as we've proven in multiple cases over the last quarter century. He who rules the night rules the battlefield, and we've given Ukrainians everything but night vision equipment. If we're going to keep it for ourselves in this war, then we'll have to be the ones that use it. I don't think there's going to be huge losses here. The Russian army is not fighting well. Their morale is in the dumper. The only people who would really fight hard if we got involved would be the Wagner Group mercenaries, because they have no standing. If you read that again, Article 47, Section 1, a mercenary shall not have the right to be a combatant or a prisoner of war. The Wagner Group is going to be considered, well, the only thing I can come up with from that is criminals. War criminals, most likely, but definitely criminal. And they don't want to go to prison. We're talking about a bunch of psychopaths who will bash people's heads in with a sledgehammer and laugh about it. They are the worst kind of war criminal. They're much like the SS, or more exactly, the Derlevanger Brigade, which was made up of murderous psychopaths. They're not showing anything different. I wish I could come up with another way to settle this, but throwing Russia out of the UN and a use of force resolution to bring this to an end is probably what's going to happen, and we're probably going to have a lot of boots on the ground. But by the same extension, certainly, I don't know about France, but certainly our Eastern European NATO allies would be in this just as deep as we will. But it's what's got to happen. I'll let you dwell on that thought. Like, subscribe, comment. I'm done for today. Y'all have a good evening if you can with this depressing thought or depressing situation that's been put forth. Stay safe and see you next time. Bye.